This video is about cycle accesses. Although cycles table has a simple table at its core and you can make a pre-filter here, this pre-filter does not completely restrict access to cycles. It restricts access specifically to rows in the cycles table. But the user will have access to the tables inside the cycle even if he doesn't see the row with the cycle. To make it work the way you want it to, there is a special technical field called user access. This is where the user who added the cycle is put. This is a multiple field. You can enable edit access for it. And multiple users can be selected here. For example, for this cycle, I selected the administrator, USER1. Here I take the administrator off, USER1 is selected. It's like this cycle was created by USER1. It was created by the administrator. This was created by the administrator, but user1 is additionally put here. And now it works as follows. First, the cycles table must have edit or read access to the role that the user has for which we configure access. We set role 1, user 1 has role1. If we want to give read-only access, then you have to enable action available on viewing for the button to cycle. Also for the table inside the cycle we give this role 1 access. The role to change is role1. Save and go back to the cycles table. By default, access to cycles is as follows: all users see all cycles, including the cycles of other users. Here we switch to user 1, and he sees all cycles and can go inside the cycle and see those tables that are available for his role. Here is another table, and we haven't set access to it for user 1, and he can't see it, but he can see all the cycles. Now we switch back to administrator. This setting changes right here. Here is the type, access to cycles. We can set that the user does not see any cycles other than his own. This does not apply to the administrator, he still sees them. We need this to not shoot ourselves in the foot. But if we switch to user 1, we will only see cycles that have user 1 in the access field. Let's go back. The next setting is the option to see other people's cycles, but not the option to get in. Let's save it. Let's switch to USER1. We have cycle number 3, which is admin only. Here we see cycle number 3, but user 1 can't get into it because he doesn't have access to this particular cycle. Okay, let's move on. The next setting is read access to other user cycles. This means that the user will see other user cycles, and he will be able to get inside, but he won't be able to change anything there. We can get inside and everything here is locked. All tables that are visible here, and the last type is this dash. Historically, it does the same thing as the default type. We will now put no one sees but the creator to show you the next story. We will talk about this again in the section about user configuration, but here I will also tell you about it. In the system tables section in the roles, or rather not in the roles, but in the users table there is a boss setting for user. For user 1, which we use for testing, we can put another user as boss. The boss can have the same role. Let's change it for demonstration purposes. And we can specify that USER2 is boss of USER1. If this setting were not set, then user 2 would not see the cycles created by user 1. But we now switch to user 2 and we see that he sees the same as user 1. That is, bosses in the chain see the cycles of their subordinates and have the same rights to access them as their subordinates. Back here in the user, And there's a second field right here that allows you to expand this thing. Let's bring back the boss setting. For example, if you have user 1N goes on vacation, and you need to give another manager access to his orders quickly, we can say here that user 2 will have access to user 1 cycles. And that will work in the same way as with the boss setting. We need user 2. And here he will have access to the cycles of user 1N in the same way. When the person comes back from vacation and you want to disable user 2's access, you just uncheck the setting in the field. Here you can build all sorts of hierarchical structures. For example, the user creates his cycles, and other managers see these cycles if necessary due to these two settings. That's actually all about cycle access. This field can also be editable. It can be visible to the user himself. For that you have to remove visible for roles. If you enable editing access for manager, then user 1 can manually assign user 2 access to his own order, and then user 2 will have access to this order. He won't see the others, only the one that user 1 himself allowed him to see. And this works for accesses inside cycles, even if you try to get inside through the address bar. That's the difference from prefilters. That's it. Use it.